All right, good and welcome to our channel. Today, I'm going to be discussing updates for Section 8 housing and the federal votes. So that'll be for Congress coming up probably in the next, I think, 90 days before October 1st. So progressively throughout the year, we have been discussing what the changes might be. Now it's become more consolidated. So each update, we know better what they're going to attempt to change and also what they have consolidated and removed from the table. But as you all know, Congress has all the way to the point of the vote to make determinations and remove and change things. So here's where we are with it now. This will likely be the last update until Congress actually decides to vote on the federal budget for 2027. And the video itself is going to be specifically about funding federal programs for housing. So I'm going to go over some bullet points. This will be an exceptionally short video because, like most of you, I celebrated July 4th yesterday, and I got to tell you, three or four well tequilas and orange juice has not gone over well, so I'm struggling a bit this morning. So, all right, let's go over the details here. So let's go back a little bit in time here. So approximately the administration requested 73.5 billion for 2027. That is a 13% reduction overall from the discretionary fund. So that put us at 71.4 billion. And that's also not including the 8% reduction from 2026. So as you can see, we're at about 21% reduction in the last just 2 years. So 20% of the overall budget. So the consensus at this point would be that they're more interested in consolidating and just keeping people that have a voucher and paying for that. They're not looking for any expansion. So the market will remain stubborn, probably to the end of the administration or till there are further changes. So they don't want to expand or give out any, really to get involved with new vouchers at all. Uh, Clearly, after 2 years and almost 21% reduction of federal budget year after year total, we can see that they're just looking to maintain what's already in play, and that may remain that way all the way till the end of the administration. Okay, let's go over a few more details here. So the existing voucher renewals, the proposal includes funding intending to renew most existing housing choice vouchers, and it looks like the new voucher restrictions are going to have some exclusions for those of you that participate in HUD Bash, Family Unification Program, and certain RAD conversations will be the exclusionary people. And of course, like all great things, as we're discussing other things they're considering, if you are 62 years and older or disabled, then you may also be excluded through much of what we're discussing today. But that does not mean things cannot change. As I mentioned before, the administration makes frequent changes. Therefore, the advice of the video may only be good till the next change. So that's just how it goes. So some of the proposals that are that have been up for debate and they're going to vote on is going to be a minimum of weekly work requirements for able-bodied adults, meaning those that are not disabled and those that are 18 to 61. Okay. They're also going to consider and vote on a 5-year time limits for some households. So you see that numbers increased since previous videos. At first, they were considering 2 years. Now it's up to 5-year limits for some households, and additional eligibility restrictions. And these proposals remain under debate and have not become law yet. So we got about 90 days for this shakes down. Homeless programs. So the proposal would also affect homeless assistance, better known as continuum of care programs, for those of you in rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, and those remaining few that have the emergency housing voucher. The possible changes include reduction to homeless assistance funding, restructuring of homeless grant programs, and changes to the continuum of care program as a whole. The issue remains among the most controversial portions of the budget and current debate. Programs facing major cuts or elimination are going to be several HUD programs, and one's going to be the Home Investment Partnerships, Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, housing opportunities for person with AIDS, or better known as HOPWA, HOPWA, family self-sufficiencies on the chopping block, housing counseling, fair housing initiatives, and choice neighborhoods. Congress may restore, modify, or reject these proposals and cuts during the negotiations. The negotiations are right now, and so this is all going to roll out in the next 90 days. We've all been waiting since early this year. Public housing, unlike other earlier proposals, public housing operations receive modest increases under the administration, meaning those of you on project-based housing and capital funding remain relatively stable, while operating would increase. For those of you on HUD Bash that are veterans, one important point for veterans: the proposal for funding continues, as HUD Bash specifically exempts HUD Bash from proposed pause on issues for new vouchers. So, as present, they've issued some new funding for roughly 2,500. We spoke about it last video, and I think we discussed quite widely how to apply for that. This means that homeless veterans housing remains a funding priority under the current proposal, so that's good. Current voucher holders, there is no proposal to cancel the existing housing choice vouchers nationwide, though the focus is primarily funding renewals and changing future emissions. Waiting lists, applicants may experience longer waits, fewer new vouchers issued, slower reopening of waiting lists. I think we've already experienced that. So I suppose it could only get a little bit more difficult if Congress ultimately adopts restrictions on the new voucher issuance. Those changes are not yet laws. So housing authorities and public housing authorities, better known as PHAs, are looking to reduce administrative flexibility, tightening funding, and new federal funding requirements have enacted. And as you may know, previous video we discussed that, by virtue, the HUD and the administration are rolling out AI throughout the business side of this for landlords, and had been for a couple of years. And so I think that it's ever present now that they're trying very quickly to roll this out to replace a great portion of most housing authorities' administrative staff. So, as I mentioned in the past, they're under review, and I think they've learned over the last 50 years of operation with all these different housing authorities that it hasn't worked so well. So I think that in the very near future, in the next couple of years, you're going to see probably a great elimination of many housing authorities as you know them. You will probably be dealing with throughout the whole process with AI, with very little interaction, because it's been a fabulous waste of money. I don't think a lot of you realize that out of that 71 or $73 billion, that almost half of that money gets wasted just dealing with housing authorities. Okay, the other half on nonsense programs, and only a small portion actually goes towards people actually receiving a voucher and then housing. So it's been quite a failure. We have people that are profiting off of this too heavily, and so that's why it's important to get AI involved. It doesn't have an interest in money and other things, and so the subject matter remains, speculative. But I can tell you that I'm almost 98% sure that way before 2030, we will reach a probably 95% AI system through most PHAs, and the days of dealing with caseworkers will likely be over with, and for the most part. Now, of course, they're going to grant greater latitude. In other words, it'll probably take them a 5 to 7 year period to eliminate most of these people in PHAs. But until then, for now, they're just trying to implement this across the board. So, and I think that AI is moving at a great pace. So it's a good subject matter. It's something good to look into as well. Let's go to comments here, and thank you for the emoji. Whoever threw up the kiki there, that was quite nice. I've never seen that before in my live chat. So, all right, going into comments. Silver Fox, good morning, Sunday morning, for what you do. Well, thank you. Trust me, I had to ride all the way down to Waterburger this morning. It's a little burger shop in Texas, but get some coffee because alcohol doesn't do too well with me. That's why I only had 2 drinks and a total of 3 shots of tequila and orange juice, and I deeply regret getting the well. And of course, my cats woke me up at. We got in at 1 in the morning, and the cats woke me up at 5, so I'm completely out of whack right now. Skokie Land watching. Susan Wells, thank you, Jane. Mary, Mother of God, I love the name. Thank you, and thank you for the heart emoji. It goes on. You've done an amazing job. Grateful for your watching, and blessings to the Kikis. If you haven't seen, guys, go to our community page. I did a little bit of artsy on my cats and turned them into neighborhood pimps. They got little hats on and everything. I found a very photogenic moment, so I took advantage of that and thought you guys might think it was funny. Seven Kings, any EHB news? That'd be the pretty much this video. So yes, the that's uh, when you say EHB, I assume you mean emergency housing voucher. So that's a program that's coming to a close. There's not much left of that anymore. It's shocking that we've managed to keep that in place for nearly 6 years. So there's still some funds out there, but it's really just in remote places. Mister, good morning, Jay and Katz. Brendan Johnson, thank you for the message, but it got retracted. Seven Kings, good luck with that. AI can't do the job. Well, you're certainly entitled to your opinion. I would say that AI right now represents, by large, the largest portion of just about everything right now. So, but we're all entitled to our opinions. I'm not going to get deeply into that today, especially with this minor hangover. I don't want to say shit I don't mean to say. Mister, good morning. Let's see. Base citizen AI will save money, but that will be save money that won't go to folks needing housing. AI is a great debate. I mean, it's like every other invention we've had, right, guys? We started with what records, we moved to 8 tracks, we go on and on. There's good and bad with everything. We can argue the hell out of this, okay? But in the end, this is how it's going to go. And so, look, the older you get, the more you learn to just go with the flow of the river. You may not like where you're going with that, but that's just how shit goes. I bet I'm not going to burn extra energy worrying about AI. It is what it is. I've implemented it heavily throughout my office, and I make it work for me. While I still have control of that, right? Others are going to disagree, and I'm okay with that. So we don't all have to be right. Kitty Pie, turn it up for 800 joules. Well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but I agree. Okay. Good morning, and thank you, Jay and Kiki's. Jerky, tequila, and OJ. Yep, that makes a rough morning. Man, let me tell you, when you go to a real old dive bar, the kind where they don't have any windows, and you get the well stuff, you feel like I do today. And that was only 2 drinks, and one had a double shot in it. And I got to tell you, it's pretty insufferable. Though I have no tolerance to liquor. I should have got the top shelf, but with inflation prices, it might have been $58 for the drink. So I wasn't in the mood for that either. Beta says, and I'm sure the Fed is wanting to state getting ineligible and undocumented immigrants. That plays a large part of the administration, of course. Though I don't make it a focal point of every video, but I mean, that's one of many factors being considered. I mean, there's fraud throughout the system, whether it's the housing authority or the people applying, and there's immigration issues. Hell, we could turn this video into 5 hours of debate of all the different things that have gone wrong. But I agree and disagree with many of you. Seven Kings, laugh it out, true. Base citizen. Um, I'm not disrupting AI as a helpful. Just saying they save money. Oh, I get it, guys. But keep in mind today, I'm not a sharp tool. So if I misinterpret your conversation in the chat, then that's just the way it goes this morning. Maybe I'll be more on cue the next video. Cutie Pie, I am the one who sent the Kiki emoji. Jules turned up. Cutie Pie, let me know how you did that because that was pretty neat. And so, like many things, I'm trying to catch up on how to use my own channel. And since I'm never in my own live chat doing that, I'd love to know. Muskogee Land, if AI can save me and help build my dream, I will learn to use it. Let me tell you something about AI, guys. Even I've learned this. They're going to weaponize AI basically to do the same thing Google did with ads. Eventually, these AIs are going to figure out how to relieve us all our money. Okay, so yeah, you'll get some help, but I already see where the shit's going, and the wealthy own it, and it's a race. I get it. So since I can't win the war, I'm going to use AI to benefit me as much as I can, despite other AIs likely through both my bank and power company and everybody else that I can't get on the phone that would love to use AI against me. In fact, I get a lot of AI responses from a lot of people and companies these days, so it's rather annoying. because you never know the true intent of people's conversations anymore. So AI. Let's go. Let's see. Imminent possibilities. Good morning, Jay and Katz and chat. Rachel. So, what happens to the ones who are disabled and on Section 8? Well, as we had previously discussed roughly 8.5 minutes ago, those that are disabled are not going to be affected by the changes. Neither will anyone that is 62 years and older. But keep in mind, that is what they're considering at this moment. If anybody's unclear about this, the president, the administration, and Congress don't need anybody's permission to change your mind day to day. What's good today may not be good tomorrow. Okay. I mean, look, out of all the years I've been doing this summer makes almost 27 years. Normally, when I track administrations, presidents, and Congress, it's an issue of I check every once quarter year. Every day I get up because I don't know what's changed. So it's not the matter of my conversation to you guys, it's the rapid development of what they want to do. And a lot of ideas and a lot of thoughts regarding programs are being bounced every day and shot down or shot up. But we will get the final verdicts because the 2027 budget has to be voted on. And that is typically going to happen before October 1st. And when that happens, we will all know the truth. And I probably will have wasted 8 videos recovering the topic as we progressively learn what they're putting on the list and then removing later, and then they change it again. There's very little I can do about that. So we need to continue to monitor. That will give us some slight idea of how this might go. Let's see. Seven Kings. So far, EHB clients in New York, I have been disabled. Trying to get help. Options for them. I spoke with City Hall. Well, I can tell you right now, the administration does not want to continue on the path of emergency housing vouchers. What's left in the program and the few places that have it, that's what it is. They're not going to relight that. They're not going to refund it. In fact, if I've interpreted correctly through my own career of 27 years working at the federal level with clients, I would say that a lot of what we utilize federal funds for in terms of homelessness, emergency housing vouchers, rapid rehousing, and permanent supportive housing have been battled through every court all the way up to damn near the Supreme Court. And they have challenged, there's been more legal challenges about that program funding than probably anything in America. At least 5,000 more lawsuits spanning 50 states. In the end, it will remain a contentious subject. This will be stopped and frozen 100 times before the end of this administration, this presidential term. So for now, we can't count on anything. And so if you've got clients you're dealing with that are dealing in these programs, it's a fickle matter. You may find that the support and the funds are not available, or you may find that it's rather contentious through these organizations that qualify and keep people in housing using that funding to be highly reluctant to even want to continue on the path. A lot of people just simply being ejected out the system under continuum of care because nobody wants to start something they can't finish. And for many more that already have emergency housing vouchers, rapid rehousing, and permanent supportive housing, many of them have just frozen it. Though they've got a little bit of funding, they're not willing to go forward because they never know if they're going to have to keep stopping and starting. It creates a bigger problem of evictions and everything else. But I think that we'll have at least a blurry picture by October 1st, right? Because there's no definitive decisions these days. Well, I've watched this for a couple of years now. What's good today may not be good next week, and so that's just how things are going in politics these days, whether it's Congress, if it's the House, or if it's the president himself making decisions, and a lot of this is based on court cases. Let's move on from there. Missy Yolanda, does a continuum of care fall under Section 8? Well, let's frame this up so you guys better understand how the federal funding rolls down the hill. That way you'll have a better understanding. Okay. So after Congress votes in budgets, that all that federal dollars, all 71 to 73 billion dollars fall to the management of HUD, which is the Urban Department of Housing. Okay. And Indian Affairs Week. So quaintly leave off. From there, it is administered to every PHA across the nation, which means as funds leave and they hit the housing authority is the first stop. Now, there's another branch you had mentioned there, and that's continuum of care. Now, continuum of care is also federal funds, but instead of issuing a housing choice voucher, it deals with continuum of care programs like rapid rehousing, permanent support. So that's another branch, and it's separate. It is not dealt with through most housing authorities. It's dealt through nonprofits. Okay. And then you have a third tier, and that's when we have landlords that are private that deal with the housing authority, but their buildings are not project based, they become tenant based. So what you have is tax credit properties. And so some federal funding goes to that, which allows builders and landlords to be able to build and participate in tax credit programs. So you have three branches. That's not discluding factors of FEMA, Red Cross, and other federal agencies that may get special use vouchers that seem to fly above or below the radar in the program. So we could go pretty deep down the rabbit hole. So um, each section of this, whether it's the housing authority, it's the housing authority, it's the vouchers and project-based housing, it's the private landlord that has a tax credit property, or it's the continuum of care program dealing with homeless and so on. And then you have a sidetrack, a completely independent line of funding, this called HUD Bash that deals with veterans, that does not even play by the normal operational rules of all the other programs. And so you see there's exclusions and twists and turns in this that don't work the way you might imagine. A lot of people think HUD Bash is somehow administrative through the housing authority. The housing authority has no opinion or even control over HUD Bash. It runs completely independent, and HUD Bash program and the VA do not need the housing authority's permission to do jack shit. You see my point? So it carries its own power and weight, and its determinations are made by the VA. Moving from there, let's see. Skokie Lamb, they will look for fraudulent claims. Look, once the AI starts rolling through and they digitize everybody's records and PHA and all that stuff, they'll be able to detect fraud almost. They'll be able to detect fraud instantaneously. They'll also be able to roll the clock back and see all the fraud done. And so that's the dangers, because there are many people that used to work at housing authorities are probably sitting in a nursing home right now in their late 80s and 90s. And so they went on a 30-year career at the housing authority committing fraud and thought they could retire in Florida in a nursing home, but yet now they're going to be met with a federal bus pulling up to take them off to prison because they mismanaged the housing authority, stole a bunch of shit. That sentiment is also shared with people that go in and receive vouchers that shouldn't be getting that because they lied about income. So there is a real big push to go back and collect, just like the tax man. The reason this is going on as long as we've never had enough federal budget and staff to continuously in real time review all this stuff. Well, when AI, once they get this fixed on it and digitize everything, then AI is going to be able to roll back the clock. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get contacted, and you repay the money, or you could face some type of indictment. But I think we're a couple of years off of that being full roll. But yeah, there's a lot of money lost. There are many more nonprofits that engaged in fraudulent activity and playing administer to homeless programs that cook the books for billions, namely places like Los Angeles and others. And a lot of these people have gone on and living in the mansion, got, a nice pair of diamond earrings. They thought they got away with it. Imagine their surprise, when the feds show up at their little mansion in LA, and they put all their shit up for auction and carry them off to a grand indictment. So I think in the future, a lot of people investigations are going to get caught up in investigations for previous activity. I know we had a big problem throughout New York and Jersey and a tri-state area with people doing generational vouchers, and thus far they've been quite successful and passing down vouchers and playing the game for generations. Well, there's going to be consequences to that, because once there's a full review and AI has considered all things filed, they'll be able to roll back the clock. And I got to tell you, you might as well go ahead and pack your shit and get ready, because the next step you're going to make is they're going to put some handcuffs on your ankles and throw you on the bus. And so the paddy wagon is going to be making, and I don't mean that in in a racist way to my Irish friends, okay? But the old paddy wagon's gonna make the block. They're gonna be looking for victims. Don't think they're gonna let this go. They're not just gonna bring AI in and go, oh well shit, well, let's just start from here, and start fresh. No, we're gonna rewind the clock and everybody needs to have their checkbook out that's part of the system. And so you should expect that unless there's some time limits. But as far as I know, there's no time limits on fraud. So it's whatever each administration determines to do. But I can tell you there's one thing that does have the breadth and scope to be able to simultaneously review quintillions of miles of data almost instantaneously, and that would be AI. And so we'll see how they do that and how what the fallout will be if it ever happens, right? So moving on from there, I don't want to make this a dark and gloomy day talking about all that and everybody catching the bus to prison. But look, at some point we must hold people accountable, whether it's the housing authority, nonprofits, or anybody that's engaged in fleecing the American taxpayer of its money through programs. Miss Yolanda, I'm in Florida. I'm just trying to understand the information. Well, I can't make you understand it better. All you have to do is listen, and then just like a VCR, rewind. If you didn't hear it the right way the first time, rewind, rewind. All right. But anyways, glad to have you here. I'm just picking on you a little bit. Seven Kings, so true. Worked for one of them. I get a lot of former directors and housing authority employees, and people. I have a reputation for talking shit about housing authorities. It's okay. It's just part of the image of the channel, I suppose. But it's nothing personal. I know I've had people from the housing authority that were former employees that worked in my office. It is what it is. We all know what to be the truth, and there's no confusing it. There's certainly been problems throughout the system. So I'm only stating the really obvious. Moving on from there, Solon Alexander, that is awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Muskogee land, to avoid red flags, everything has to make sense. Yeah, well, I'm glad it's not my job to have to review everything. So I'm glad in many ways we're able to better manage this through something that does not have a discriminatory opinion of things. And I think that AI to a certain point can achieve that goal. Well, guys, I've enjoyed captivating you all as an audience today. I've also enjoyed sharing my hangover here today from the cocktails last night on 4th of July. And now I'm going to resign myself to three lovely pancakes, one sausage patty, and some sweet tea. And I'm going to nurse myself back to health for noon. Otherwise, I will have a protest from my cats because I don't think they enjoyed me leaving and not arriving back till 1 in the morning. Even my old cat, she's 26. Um, she protested that very heavily. That I had left for so long. You thought she was dying. She was like Waylings Jennings the minute I hit the driveway. She was waiting, tapping her toe, almost like, hey, where the hell were you? I don't remember scheduling an outing here, but that's my cats. Moving on there. Brenda, Aki, yummy. Yep, it is going to be yummy, extra yummy this morning. I've even juiced myself a little coffee to get through this video. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up because we run the risk of me carrying on more than usual, and nobody wants anybody that's senile or has dementia to continue to make a video. So I'm gonna wrap it here. We'll see. We'll see you Tuesday when I've got more important shit to talk about. So, anyways, it's been fun having you guys. I hope you all enjoyed your 4th of July, and we will see you Tuesday. All right, bye for now.